Hello everyone, I am Vibha Chauhan and welcome to Jan Classes Funda Clear. So today I will explain Class 8 Geography Chapter 5 and our chapter is Industries. So as the name suggests, we are going to discuss about industries in this chapter. We will see at the classifications of industries. We will also look at the major industries of the world, and we will also see that which are the industries that have grown in India. So all these we are going to study in this chapter. So let us discuss with industries. Industries, as you know, that are the secondary activities or manufacturing, anything you can say that. So secondary activities, it adds more value to the raw materials. So industries are those kind of economic activities that add more value to the raw materials, whether it is extraction of iron or steel. It can be for anything. It is based on agro-based. There are many industries, and industries are the secondary activities, and secondary activities, as you know, that are the processing of raw materials into something more valuable to us. So for example, pulp, as you know, that by processing in the industries is converted into paper. Now paper is more valuable than pulp. So industries are those kind of economic activities. Now we have discussed about industries. Now let us look at the classifications of industries. Classification of industries. So classification of industries can be on the basis of many things, like on the basis of size, like on the basis of ownership, like on the basis of raw materials. Now industries are classified on the basis of raw materials. And on the basis of raw materials, they are classified into four types, that are, first is agro-based industries. Agro-based industries are those industries that are based on plants produce and animals produce. Now they are needed. That means plants and animals are supporting agro-based industries. Agro means here agro is used for agriculture. So they are based on plants and animals. So for example, food item, you know that there are many more industries that are agro-based industries. Now second classification can be mineral based industries. Mineral based industries on the basis of raw materials. So mineral based industries are those industries that are based on raw materials like minerals. You know that iron is extracted from the iron ore. So here this industry is based on minerals. You know that iron ore, limestone, these are the minerals, and mineral based industries are those industries that extract substance from the minerals. So that is mineral based industries. Now third is marine based industries. Marine based industries are those industries that are based on sea items or lake items, like for example water bodies item. So you can say that salt is also an example of marine based industries, and many more examples are there, like fish oil or seafood item. Now these are the examples of marine based industries that are based on sea items. Now next and last classification is forest based industries. Forest based industries are those industries that are based on forest item, like you can say that like on the timber, like on wax. Now these are the forest items. Now don't get confused in the agro based industries and forest based industries. There is difference between them. Forest based industries are those industries that are based on forest items, like they make furniture. Now they are based on forest. Agro based are those that are based on agriculture, or you can say that plants and animals. Now we have looked at the classifications of industries on the basis of raw materials. Now second classification can be on the basis of size. On the basis of size means that how much labor working in the industries, how much capital is invested in industry. Now these are the basis on size. So there can be classification of industries on the basis of size depending upon the labor, upon the capital invested, depending upon the area area of that industry. Now there can be two classifications on the basis of size. First is small scale industries and second is large scale industries. So small scale industries are those industries like the cottage industries or household industries that are very small than that of any other industries. You know that poultry industries, handicrafts industries, now these are at a very small level. They are not on a very large scale. So that is what is called as small scale industries. You know that weaving, basket weaving, many handicrafts are made at a very small scale. So that is called as small scale industries. Now next is large scale industries. So large scale industries are those industries that are on a very large level. You know that, for example, TISCO, Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, is also kind of very large scale industries. So large scale industries are those industries that have large area, that have invested much capital than that of small scale areas and have more labor than that of small scale industries. So there can be two classifications on basis of size of industries. Now third classification can be on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, you know that it also matters that who is owning that industry. So there can be four classifications on the ownership of the industries. Now first one is private sector industries. Private sector industries, as from the name you can say that private sector industries are those industries that are owned by individuals or by a group of individuals. Now they are for private, they are owned by an individual or by a group of individuals, like for example TISCO company, and there are many more examples. So these are the industries that are private sector industries. Now next classification can be state owned or public sector. State owned or public sector. Now these are the industries that are owned by state or the government, that are for public purposes. Now for example, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Now these are the public sector industries that are owned by the state or by the central government. These are the public sector industries. Now third classification can be joint sector industries. Joint sector industries are those industries that are owned and operated by the state and individuals or group of individuals. So they are kind of both are owning. They are joint sector industries. Now next and last classification can be cooperative sector industries. Cooperative sector industries are those industries that are operated by the worker or by the supplier of raw materials. For example, the dairy products. So as we know that dairy product industries are kind of cooperative sector industries that are operated by the worker or by the supplier or by both. So these are the four classifications on the basis of ownership. Now we have looked at the classification of industries. They can be classified onto the basis of raw materials, on the basis of size, and on the basis of ownership. And even in those there are classifications that we have discussed. Now next topic is factors affecting location of industries. Factors affecting location of industries. So you know that for making industry, for building industry, most important is that how is that area where you want to settle that industry, because it matters the most. There should be supplies. There are many needs for setting the industries at that area, at any particular area. So there are many factors that affect the location of industries. So the factors that affect the location of industries are water supply, are the power or electricity, and there are many, like the condition of that land. Is it flat or is it plain? Is it high or is it low? And that also matters, and transport as well, because you know that if an industry is settled and far away there is nothing, there is no market, there is no transport, then how would it export it to the any other countries or any other village or any other city. So that also matters. Transport is also a factor that affects the location of industries. Now there are many water supply should also be very good. And the next factor that affect the location of industries is labor, because if you have settled industry, then there is a must need of labor as well. So many people set their industries at that area where labor is very cheap, because that also matters to the industry owners. So there are many more factors like market as well, because if you have settled industry, then there should be market around it, because if there is not, then how would it sell its production to those markets, to those, if there is no one, then who would it to sell it? So there are many factors that affect the location of industries, and there are many more. And people settle their industries where all the factories, all the facilities are available, or some of the available, then it also good, because you know that government also supplies, also make facilities in the backward stages, in the backward, you know, that backward areas of India, because industrialization leads to the development and growth of the country. Because you just think that if there is an industry that is settled in a very backward area of India, then the people would know about that industry, people would be employed, and that would be development and growth of the country. So government also supports for the facilities that are leading to the location of industries. So that is factors affecting the location of industries. There are many factors like transport, like trade, like market, like labor, like water supply, like electricity or power. So there are many factors that affect, and it also depends on that where it is settled and which industry it is, because raw materials are different for many industries. So now our next topic is industrial system. Industrial system. So as you know that in anything there is a system. There are inputs, then processing, and then outputs. So in industries as well, there is industrial system. There are inputs like the raw materials, labor, transport, you know, that capital that is invested on industries. There are inputs, and then there is processing. Processing means that the conversion of raw materials into the finished product. That is processing in the view of industrial system. And next is output. Output means production from the industries. So that is called as the industrial system. Now if we look at the examples of industrial system, if we say about the textile industries, particularly the cotton textile industries, then there would be inputs like cotton, because it is a raw material, so cotton would be an input. Now then transport, the land, the capital that is invested on it, and many more infrastructure that is invested on it. And then there would be processes like spinning, weaving, knitting, stitching. These are the processing, and dyeing as well. So these are the processes for the cotton textile industry. And then there would be output. Output, you can think of shirty that you wear. So that is output from cotton textile industries. So in any industries there are inputs, processes and outputs, and in any field you can see that there are inputs, then process and outputs. In the computer lessons as well you might have heard these terms. So that is about industrial system. There are much more. Then in any industry there is a common industrial system, many more infrastructure, that is inputs, then there is processing, and then production, that is output of that industry. Now next topic is industrial reasons. Industrial reasons, you can say that industrial reason means that when at a particular place many industries have been settled and they are linked to each other for their benefits of their closeness. Now that would be called as an industrial reason. So in a very simple time we can say that industrial reason is a reason where there are many industries that have been settled. Now why have they settled at the same place? Because because they want to share the benefits of their closeness. Because just think about that, if there is a reason and there are many industries that have settled, not just one industry, there are 5 industries or 6 industries that have settled. Now government will also look at it that for the facilities in that region, and that facility would be for benefits of those all industries. So for the benefits of their closeness, to share that benefit, the industrial regions are made. And the major industrial belts, major industrial regions of the world are Eastern North America, and in Europe as well, Eastern, Western and Central Europe as well, Eastern Asia as well. Now in these regions of the world, there are industrial regions. So that is what is called as industrial regions, and we have looked at some of the industrial regions of the world as well. Now in India as well, there are industrial regions. They may not have been very big, but there are industrial regions in India. Like for example, Kollam Thiruvananthapuram region, that is also an industrial region. For example, there can be many examples like Visakhapatnam Guntur belt, like for example Gurgaon, Delhi, Meerut belt or region, you can say anything belt or region. There are many regions like Bangalore, Tamil Nadu region. There are many regions where there are industrial regions in India. Now we have looked at the benefits of industries, we have looked at the classification of industries, but one point is to be noted, there can be disasters as well. So next topic is related to it, that is industrial disasters. Industrial disasters means that the disaster accidents that have occurred due to irresponsibility or the failure of technology. You know that there can be technical failure as well as for the irresponsibility of the people. So there can be these two cause of the industrial disasters, because you know that if there is an industrial disaster, then it is very harmful. There can be many lives taken, and there are many people that can be affected by that, because you know that there are 2 case studies that have been given of industrial disasters. So first is the very infamous Bhopal gas tragedy. Now you might have studied it in your civics class, but in here geography it is also given. So infamous Bhopal gas tragedy occurred on 3 December 1984. Now it occurred during the 12:30 a.m. So that was the midnight and everyone was sleeping. So there was a factory that was settled in India by the Americans. They were settled by the country USA, and that was Union Carbide. And on 3 December 1984, methyl isocyanide, that was a very toxic gas, leaked out from that factory, that industry. So because of that, there were many lives, there were many people that have been dead due to that gas leak, and the total number of death was more than 3,000 people. Now there are many more, but you know that in the government officials, the number of people were less than that of actual deaths. So there were many lives that were taken in this Bhopal gas tragedy, and many people who had survived were affected by it as well. And you know that the people that were living surrounding that industry were also affected by it. Many people who survived were affected, like they had skin problems, they had blinds, like you know that eye problems, their respiratory system was that damaged. So there were many people who were affected by it. They had survived but were affected very severely because of that gas leak. So that was the infamous Bhopal gas tragedy that had took place in India on 3rd December 1984. And you know that was because of irresponsibility, because you know that there were not measures that were taken. Now second case study is given of China. Now you know that in China as well there was a gas blowout. Gas blowout means that when you are extracting natural gas from the earth, now there can be blowout as well. There can be a very big blowout. So that had took place in China on 23rd December 2005 in Gaoqiao region of Chongqing in China. Now there is a region Gaoqiao in China's region Chongqing. So there it had took place and 243 people had died because of that gas blowout, and many people were severely affected by it because it was a gas. Gas can leak from anywhere. And many people were affected by it. So now we have discussed two case studies. Now the Bhopal gas tragedy and the blowout of China of Gaoqiao. It would be better precise information. So two case studies we have seen. Now these were the, you can say that, industrial disasters that have been taken, that had took place due to irresponsibility or due to technical failure. Now there can be measures that have to be taken in case of industrial disaster to prevent from industrial disaster. First is that people should be aware of that. There should be awareness among people, because you know that if there is a factory, if there is an industry around people's house, then they have to be aware of toxic substances that have been used in that industry. They have to take measures, because you know that if there is no awareness, then how can anything be done? And next measure that should be taken can be that the factories, that the industries that have been settled, now they don't have to be settled around very surrounded area, in very densely populated areas, because if there is a densely populated areas and whenever there is a disaster, then it would affect many more people than that of in sparsely populated area, because the people living surroundings would also be affected. So factories should be settled in those areas that are not densely populated. And next can be that there should be balance in case of toxic substances. You know that if there is an industry, then there should be balance, there should be managing of toxic substances. There should not be very much substances that are harmful to people. Next measure can be that there should be improved fire mechanics, fire engines. You know that there should be prevention measures. You know that fire extinguisher, they should be settled in every factory in a very large amount. So there should be a very improved technology. There should not be any kind of irresponsibility due to you know that the harmful effects of chemicals, of toxic substances. So there are measures that should be taken for industrial disasters, because industrial disaster can be proved harmful for anyone, for the people that are working in the industries or the people that are living, that are the surroundings of that industry. So now our next topic is distribution of industries. Distribution of major industries more precisely. So distribution of major industries. So as you know that there are three major industries of the world, that are iron and steel industries, the textile industries, and the information technology industries. Information technology industries, you know that they are the emerging industries of the world. Now these are the three major industries of the world. Apart from them, there are minor industries, but these are the major industries. And even in these, iron and steel industries and the textile industries are the oldest industries, are older than that of information technology industries, because you know that information technology industries are emerging industries. It is not a very old industry, and you know that emerging industries are also called as sun rising industries, because they are rising like a sun, so that they are called as sun rising industries as well. For example, sun rising industries can be information technology industries, hospitality, wellness, health. These are the sun rising industries or emerging industries. Now these three are the major industries. There is distribution as well. It is not that these industries are all over the world. There are particular places where they are found. So if we say about iron and steel industries, countries where these factories are located are USA, Germany, Russia, China. Now these are the countries where this industry, iron and steel industry, is located. And if we talk about the textile industries, the countries where this industry is found are Hong Kong, India. Now there are many more like Taiwan, South Korea and Japan as well. Now these countries are those countries where this factory, where this industry is located, that is the textile industries. Now the latest one, the information technology industries are located in the Silicon Valley of the Central California and the Bangalore region of India. Now these two regions are the regions of the world where this information technology is found, are located. Now you know that Silicon Valley of California, as you know, that is in USA, and Bangalore is in India. Now these countries are the countries where information technology is located. Now we have seen about the distribution of major industries. Now we will see them in depth by taking some of the examples. So first let us discuss about iron and steel industries. Iron and steel industries. So as you know that iron and steel industries are those industries that extract iron and steel from the iron ore. You know that by the process of smelting they extract iron and steel by the process of smelting. You know that a very blast furnace is there, and in that coal raw materials are taken, raw materials are thrown, and by the process of smelting, you know that in the process of smelting what is done is that by the very much heat, you know that 1800 degrees Celsius, by this much hot temperature the iron ore is melted and then steel and iron are extracted. So in a very blast furnace it is done, the process of smelting is done, and after that iron and steel are extracted. Now these industry, iron and steel industries, are very important. You know that because these are the feeder industry, because you know that because of iron and steel many more industries are supported, are based on these items, because you know that from steel everything is made, almost everything is done or made by the steel. You know that many machineries, many equipments, many infrastructure is made from steel, and that it is very important for other industries as well. So you can say that iron and steel industries are a kind of industry that support other industries. Because of iron and steel industries many other industries are continued, because suppose for example if there is a factory and it needs machine, so for machine what you need is that you need steel, and from steel you can make that machine. So you can say that it is also based on iron and steel industry, and in agricultural field as well. Now in agriculture field tractors and many more equipments are made in iron and steel industries. So iron and steel industries, steel, you know that steel is also called the backbone of the industries. Now you know that backbone, steel is very important for industries, and that is why it is called as the backbone of the industries. Now if we say about the iron and steel industries before 1880, where it was located, where it was being settled were the areas where there could be found raw materials, and where there was coal mines, you know that, and where there were river, where there was water. Now before 1880 this was the area, you know that area where all these facilities, there should be raw materials, there should be water as well, there should be a very plain land. These were the areas where mainly the iron and steel industries were located, and after later on they were settled on the areas where there were rivers, where there were plain land. They were not only focused on raw materials, because before 1800 AD they were located in the areas where there were all facilities, but after that they were not focused on everything. They were mainly focused on the water and for the land and transport. And after that, after 1950, iron and steel industries are located near the seaports, because you know that import and export is very important for any industry. So from the seaport, very cheaply import and export can be done. So that is why nowadays iron and steel industries are being settled up near the seaports, because from there export and import can be done very easily. So iron and steel industries are very important, and we have seen that the countries that are there where this industry can be found are USA, Germany, Russia. Now there are many more countries like China as well. So these are the countries where iron and steel industry are found. Now in India, there are 4 states where iron and steel industries are found, are settled. Now these 4 states are Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh and West Bengal. Now these 4 states are the major iron and steel factories, industries in India. And there are many other reasons where they are found in a very minor amount, that are the Visakhapatnam, for example, Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh and in Tamil Nadu as well. So these are the states where iron and steel industries are located in India. And we have seen that steel, it is very important. And there is a thing that you should know, that because steel is made by the raw materials, and from 8 tons of coal, 4 tons of iron ore and 1 ton of the limestone, only a 1 ton of steel is produced. So you can say that steel, it is very important. And you know that steel is a tough material. Steel is a very tough metal, but it can be shaped, it can be made into the wire. So that is also useful for us. And there are alloys that can be made from steel by mixing a little bit amount of aluminum, nickel and copper. So steel is very useful. You know that your needle, your pins, and from needles to very large machines, everything is made from steel, almost everything, whether it is done by steel or whether it is made by steel. So that is, we have discussed about iron and steel industries. Now we will discuss 2 regions where these industries are found, that are Jamshedpur in India, Jharkhand state, and the Pittsburgh region of USA. Now we are going to discuss about them, the iron and steel industries that are located in these regions. Now first let us discuss about Jamshedpur. So you know that before 1947, before the independence of India, there was only one steel plant in India, that was TISCO, Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited. Now this was located at Sakchi. Sakchi was a place in 1907. It was settled near Sakchi in the region Sakchi, and after that, because it was settled by Jamshedji Tata, now later on the name's place, the place of that name, the name of that place was converted into Jamshedpur. So now it is known as Jamshedpur. Earlier it was known as Sakchi place, where TISCO plant was located. And after independence, after 1947, many more steel plants, many more iron and steel industries have been settled near Jamshedpur or in the Jamshedpur, because you know that Jamshedpur is the most convenient for iron and steel industry region in the world, because it is the most convenient region. There are many facilities in Jamshedpur. There are many deposits of raw materials like iron ore, coal mines. There are many raw materials that can be found near Jamshedpur. And you know that Jamshedpur is only 32 kilometers away from the main railway station, main railway line. So that is why it is most convenient in the world, because every facility, there are 2 rivers that flow from Jamshedpur, that are Subarnarekha and Karghai. Now these are the two rivers that flow from Jamshedpur, and water of those rivers also play a very important role in the iron and steel industries. So Jamshedpur is also a region that is very important for steel and iron industries, and that is why TISCO was also settled there. And after independence of India, after 1947, many more industries started to build in Jamshedpur. And now because of iron and steel industries, there was development of other industries as well, because as I've already said that because of iron and steel, many factories, many other industries started to grow, because there were the feeders of those industries, as you know that. So because of iron and steel industries, many more industries started to grow in India, and there are many steel plants in India. They are bigger as well as smaller in India. So now that we have discussed about Jamshedpur, now next is Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh is also a region in USA, and there are iron and steel industries. So Pittsburgh is in USA and is also available, is also, you know that, is also beneficial for an iron and steel industries. So there are industries that have been settled in Pittsburgh, and you know that there are facilities, you know that there are rivers that flow from Pittsburgh. That are many more rivers. There are many rivers like Ohio River, like Agni River. So these are the rivers that flow from Pittsburgh, and there is benefits of them. But you can say that in Pittsburgh you can find iron ore by the deposits nearby. You can find coal because it is very near Pittsburgh. It is very closely linked to Pittsburgh. But you know that iron ore is deposited in these factories from 1500 kilometers away. Now you might be thinking that 1500 kilometers away, that is very large, you know that, very large length for it. So you know that USA is a very big country, so 1500 kilometers is not that much. You might be thinking that in India it was 32 kilometers. So why it is 1500 kilometers in USA? But you know that USA's area is larger than that of India. So because of that, 1500 is not very, because there are many industries that cannot be, you know, that settled because of the deposits, because of raw materials. So in Pittsburgh as well, there are industries that have been settled of iron and steel industries. But nowadays, at present time, there are very less industries in Pittsburgh, because many industries have started to build up to settle in the rivers valley. Rivers valley, you know that the rivers valley like Ohio River Valley, like the Agni River Valley. Now they have started to be settled in those rivers valley, not in the Pittsburgh region. And there is a Great Lakes. You know that Great Lakes also lies between, you know, that Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh had also one benefit of Great Lakes, because from there they could be imported and exported. The raw materials, the metals, many substances could be exported and imported. And now you have to remember that in the Great Lakes there are 5 Great Lakes that are linked to each other, and they are called you know that jointly the Great Lakes. But there are 5 lakes that are Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, and the last one is Erie Lake. Now these 5, all the lakes make the Great Lakes, and even in this, Lake Superior is the largest one. Lake Superior is the largest lake, as you know that. Now that we have discussed about iron and steel industries, now let us discuss about cotton textile industry. Cotton textile industry. So as I said that there are 3 major industries, that are iron and steel industries that we have discussed. Now next comes the textile industries of the world. So you know that textile industries are those industries which work for cloth, for making clothes, to stitch clothes. Now there can be division. Now there can be classification of textile industries as well. As you know that on the basis of raw materials, you know that the fibers are the raw materials of the, you know, the textile industries, and there can be two types of fibers, that are natural fibers and man-made fibers. Natural fibers are those fibers that are given by the nature, that are not artificial. For example, cotton, jute, wool, linen, these are the natural fibers. And now man-made fibers are those that are artificial. For example, nylon, polyester. Now there are many like acrylic. Now these are the classification. There can be two types of, you know, that textile industries. There can be two types in the textile industries, that are natural fibers and man-made fibers. Now cotton is a natural fiber, and we are going to discuss about cotton textile industries. So cotton is a natural fiber, and you know that the countries that are the producers of cotton textile industries are USA, India, Japan. Now these are and China as well. So these are the countries where the large, in a massive amount, cotton textiles are produced. So you know that India has a very glorious tradition of making very good cotton textiles. You know that, of making a very good cotton, producing very good quality of cotton textiles. You know that before the British period, British rule period, there were many cotton, you know, the cotton textiles in India that were hand spun. Because you know that in the whole world, before the mechanization, before industrialization, what there were made clothes, and that was hand spun, that was done by weaving, that was done by knitting, but was hand spun. But after that, many mills came, and now there is a mechanization, many mills, cotton textile industries, but earlier they were not. And the same happened in India. You know that in India, before British rule period, there were weavers who stitched cloth with their hand, but that textiles took a very time, were a very time consuming, and were very, you know, that expensive, were very costly. And there were many weavers, there were many prints that were made by the weavers of India. For example, you know that muslins of Dhaka was also the region of India before the partition. So that was muslins of Dhaka. There are many like the calicos of Calicut. Now that you know that it was also very beautiful print, and golden wrought of Surat, Vadodara and Gujarat. Now these are some of the printings of, you know, that weavers of India, and there were also printings in Masulipatam. Now these are the printings of the weavers in India. But what happened when British came was that they brought a kind of mechanization in India, because in the mills, you know that in the cotton mills, what there was that it was less time consuming, and the fabrics, you know that, and the clothes were very cheap than that were made by the weavers, and that's why the business of weavers got dumped. Because you know that if they they were very time consuming, because a very beautiful print that was made by hand, it is obvious that it will consume so much time, and because it was consuming so much time, it was consuming so much of the time of the weavers, that's why it was very expensive. But after that, what happened, you know that mills came in India, and you know that first mill that was established in India was in 1854. A successful, you know that a very successful mill that was established in India was in 1854 and was in Mumbai. Now it is a successful mechanization, it is a very successful cotton mill. But before that as well, there was a cotton mill that was established, and it was in 1818 near Kolkata. But you know that after it was established, a very less time, it was, you know that it was closed down after very few time. So that's why it is not counted as the first, you know that, successful mill, cotton mill of India. But you know that cotton mill that is successful was in the 1854 in the region of Mumbai. Now you know that in Mumbai is, you can say that is the first largest, is a very good quality producer of cotton in India, in the first number. You know that in Mumbai what cotton needs is that there should be very good temperature for cotton spinning and weaving. Now that is also made, you know that is also is supported in Mumbai. There you know that the climate is just as the cotton needs. So that's why in Mumbai their cotton mills started to grow, and there are many reasons, because you know that the temperature could be, the humidity could be made artificially, because you know that cotton needs humidity for its growth. So nowadays humidity is made artificially, and that's why in India there are many reasons where cotton mills have started to grow. There are many reasons where there are cotton mills, like the region of Ahmedabad, Kandimbori. There are many like in Mumbai, and there are many more reasons like the Kanpur, like Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh as well, like in Tamil Nadu, both in northern part as well as southern part. Well, it is more in southern part, because you know that in southern part there is a very much humidity than that of northern part, because in northern part in the region of Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, these are very cold regions. So that's why in southern part it is more. So you can say that the reasons where cotton mills in India are found, there are many in number. But you know that in India the cotton quality is so much good, and 1/3 of the cottons, you know that cottons produced is exported throughout the world. So you can say that the quality of cotton produced in India is very good, and it is also, you know that exported. 1/3 of the total production is exported. So you can say that how valuable it is. Now next is Ahmedabad. So you know that Ahmedabad is the region of India where there are cotton mills, where there are good quality of cotton produced, because you know that there are many reasons, but Ahmedabad is, you know that is the second largest and good quality producer of cotton in India. First is Mumbai and next is Ahmedabad. Well, just leave Mumbai. You know that in Mumbai there are real estates, there are film industries, there are cotton mills. Mumbai is, you can say that is a leader of everything. So now we are discussing about Ahmedabad. Now in Ahmedabad there is a river, that is Sabarmati river, and because of Sabarmati river what happens is that the water is also useful to us for making cotton produce, because cotton needs water as well for its growth, and there is a humid climate as well, and there are skilled labor as well, because for making cotton produce there should be skilled labor. Because for making cotton produce, for printing paints, there must be, you know that skilled labor, and that are found in the region of Gujarat and Maharashtra. So you can say that in Ahmedabad as well there are cotton mills that have been, you know that very good producing cotton prints. And Ahmedabad is the second, you know that in the whole country. There are many reasons, but the first cotton mill that was settled in Ahmedabad was 1859, and after that many mills started to follow it, and nowadays many, you know that many mills have been settled in Ahmedabad. But in the recent years what happened is that many that were started mills have closed down, and because of that, you know that many other industries have started to take place of cotton industries in Ahmedabad. Now we will discuss about Osaka. Osaka, that is in Japan, and you know that Osaka is also of a very good quality producer of cotton. There are cotton mills in Osaka as well. So you know that Osaka is in Japan, and there is Bay of Osaka as well, and River Yodo. Bay of Osaka is for the transportation, is for export, and River Yodo helps for the cotton, you know that for spinning and weaving. Now there is humid climate as well as in Osaka, and because of that, you know that warm humid climate is suitable for cotton, and because of that cotton spinning and weaving, and because of that there is a very good production in Osaka. But there is one point to be remembered, that is Osaka doesn't get its raw material from Japan. It exports raw materials from other countries, because you know that Japan is a very small country in area, and you know that its country's reason is that temperature of that country is not suitable for growing cotton, and because of that it has to export the cotton materials from different countries like from India, like from Egypt and China as well. But there is a very good quality, very good condition for making cotton produce for cotton industries, and because of that cotton mills have started to grow in Osaka, and many have been settled, and there is a very good production in Osaka. But in recent years what happened was that many industries have been replaced with the other industries like steel industries, iron and steel industries, automobile industries, because the region of Osaka is very good for industries. There is the Bay of Osaka, that is for transportation, export. There are raw materials as well for other industries. So that's why in the region of Osaka there is replacement of other industries for the cotton industries in Osaka. Now we have discussed about the cotton textile industries. We have seen that in India a very good quality, in a very large amount cotton mills, cotton industries have settled, and in Japan as well. But in Japan there is no raw material, because you know that kind of cotton is a raw material that can be transported easily, because it is not a very bulky in transport as coal. So that's why Japan also produces cotton and a very good quality of cotton, but it doesn't get its raw material. It has to export it. It has to import it from in any other country. So now that we have discussed about iron and steel industries and the textile industries, precisely the cotton textile industries, now we will look at the last major industries, that is information technology industries. Information technology industries, that is the last major industry, third major industry of the world. Now information technology industries deals with the storage, processing, inputs, storage, processing and the outputs comings of the information. Now you can say that in the very defined term that it is dealing with information, within the case of information. Now there are major two reasons, most important two reasons of information technology industries, that are Silicon Valley of California and Bangalore in India. Now these are the two main reasons of information technology industries. Now you know that Bangalore, that is in India and is in the Deccan Plateau. That is why the reason where this industry is called as Silicon Plateau. Now Silicon Valley, that is in California, is next to the Rocky Mountains and is next to the Rocky Mountains and is also a center of information technology industries. Now these reasons are the IT industries. IT means information technology, and they have something in common. You know that Bangalore, if we talk about Bangalore, why it is chosen, why is it the industry in India, why is it the place in India where there is IT industry? Because in Bangalore you know that there are many skilled managers to work for IT industries, and there are the most number of IT colleges, you know that IT colleges and universities and advanced universities as well as in Bangalore. And third point can be is that Bangalore, Karnataka, you know that Bangalore is in Karnataka state of India. So Karnataka was the first state of India to have an announced IT policy, IT industry policy in 1992. So these are the reasons, and also this city was considered as a dust-free city and a very low costed, a very low rented, and you know that there is a very low rent of standard of living. There is very low cost of living. So that's why Bangalore was chosen for IT industries. Now next we will discuss about Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley has also a very good environment. It is also very green city, you know that very clean city as well. And and next it also has some very skilled managers to work, and next could be that there are many advanced universities, advanced centers of the world near this city, near this valley, Silicon Valley. So that's why these two cities, that are the major IT industries of the world. But as we know that in India there are still many more IT industries that are emerging, IT industries regions, like in Gurgaon, like in Noida, Delhi, Meerut, there are Pune as well. There are almost many of the regions of states are emerging as a very important IT industry center of India. So now that we have discussed about IT industries, so now that we have discussed everything about the chapter, we have discussed about industries, that we have discussed about the classification of industries, we have also discussed about the major industries of the world and their distribution as well, we have seen. And there is a point that we have discussed about Ahmedabad and Osaka. Both are called, Ahmedabad is called as the Manchester of India. Now Manchester, that was a place in England, is in place in England, and it was the first city to have, have a textile industry, a cotton textile industry. So that's why Ahmedabad is called as the Manchester of India, and Osaka is called as the Manchester of Japan, not India, don't get confused. So Osaka is called as Manchester of Japan. So now we have discussed all chapter, we have discussed everything. I have discussed all topics and subtopics, and I'll be covering next chapters in further videos. So thank you very much.